And the next mod is with replacing my Dometic fridge with a Vitrifridgo fridge. Probably not pronouncing that correctly. There's going to be two parts to it. There's a bit of saga that took place with getting a fridge. As I said, it's two parts, but there's a third too, because I'm removing the utensil drawer because this fridge I'm putting in is slightly bigger. So I'm going to put a third video on how I compensated and set up my storage, compensate for the lack of having that utensil drawer, which, you know, when you're just a solo traveler, you really don't have that big of a collection of utensils. This Dometic fridge. And on top I have the cooktop, the induction, and one gas burner. So the plan was to put in a little bit bigger fridge because I'm full time, and then you can see how wide this cabinet is. Like I could eliminate by having a little bit taller, eliminate this, so give me a bit more flow there. And I was going to locate the compressor down in there, but I believe there's space in there that I could add the compressor, which I feel would also heat up in the winter, would help keep that water area warmer, and I would vent it out this center wall. This is me checking out the eBay buy. Unfortunately, the fridge, which was a good buy, and I got my money back, but it came damaged. The copper line on the umbilical cord cracked near the condenser, and everything leaked out, grease, freon, the whole 9 yards. So this is where on an H215 the fridge would be. So you've got the wheel well there, and they put a 1/2 inch plywood that runs on top of that and sits on this lip here. I just wanted to point out that the drain hole that goes through that plywood, through the fender well, isn't super well sealed. And you can see how much dust and dirt is in that back corner and off to the whole side back wall. And likely water gets up in there as well. So it's not a well sealed setup that they have there for the drain. Now I'm cleaning it up. I'm removing this drawer, which has my silverware. Now it's just me, primarily. So I can come up with something else to hold a handful of different utensils. So I'm gonna remove, which I did on this side already. I'm actually thinking of raising the fridge. Here's the height it would be, the green line, if I had to raise it to fit in the space, because I want it to go to this height, because I have a hole. So how am I filling the hole otherwise? Because otherwise, if I put the fridge in at the same height or the same base height as the Dometic, it would only go up to here. So then what am I doing with a cubby hole like this? Right? So, and plus it'd be nice to have the fridge a little bit higher anyways, but I have to be mindful too not to close in too much on my induction, because the compressor and condenser are on a line. There's a 4-footer, about a 4-foot line, so that that'll be going under here, under back in there. That's the plan. So I got to make a hole in that wall for it to fit through where I'm at, but I have to cut this a little bit wider. The fridge itself will fit in there. It's the trim piece that will not. So we'll see how that looks when the fridge gets here. This is the Dometic 1.9, which was the back wall cracked, right back in the center. And it was starting to make some funny noise, and it does have some inconsistencies. You can barely get a Haagen-Dazs in there. But that said, this fridge, I might be able to, I'll have to check. So you got the adjustable shelf, the LED light, So you can see it is a little bit bigger, right? It's just not quite as deep. So, you know, you got the egg tray, your beverage holder. Same with this, it has the two dividers. Adjustable. This shelf can be moved to 3 different height settings. So that's the Dometic. Now the difference too is that the compressor and condenser and all that was mounted, I stole the fan, mounted on the back. So that is why you lose space in the freezer for one thing. Some have it on the bottom, but then you're losing on the crisper area. Whereas this is separate, so you can move it on this line. It broke. And I stole the fan too. So yeah, so this is the line that's on the back. So that makes you get a much bigger fridge. Well, a little bigger fridge because you have this not within the fridge unit itself. And this I got on sale from eTrailer, free shipping at $1,300 US. And once more, I'm at Bill's before I head back to Canada. You can see how much wider this is, or deeper. Well, actually, here's the tray, right? So, oh, well, it is deeper. This is deeper because you've got, shit, maybe it isn't as deep as I thought. Okay, so basically how they did this for the fridge was they had this board sitting on top of the wheel well. It's a good ½ inch anyways. And that hole was for the Dometic to drain liquid out, water out. And that really is actually located over there in the fender, but I switched it to, and I'll figure out ways to fill that in. I'm gonna put, that's 1 inch styrofoam on the back wall. I'll do it right down to the board, because this fridge ends right here, basically, all going well. And this is the cutout to get the condenser assembly through there and into the second partition there, right against that the wall above that pump. I may have to, well, I'll have to undo those 2 lines there for the slow circulating pumps, but that's no biggie. Okay, so I've cut out the utensil drawer and widened this 1/4 inch on each side to allow for the surface mount, which attaches to the fridge and then frames around the perimeter to hold the fridge in place. I'm not done, I gotta trim here a bit, but that tool is pretty darn handy for cutting this out. And I've already threw in some 1 inch insulation on the back wall with extra inch on the bottom and then a little extra inch on the top. And I'm gonna put the insulating foil on the back wall as well. And yeah, the plan is to, as well, if I haven't said, is the fridge will actually be raised, the bottom of it, from what it was by a couple inches to keep it tight to here. And then it might make it a little nicer that it's a couple inches higher, but because that's the wheel well, I just prefer to build more of a base over the wheel well and get some insulation between the wheel well and the next level of a subfloor, if you will. So that's kind of where we're at. This is a rough mock-up because I got a fridge that got damaged in shipping, so I can, which is the same fridge. So that'll be its new space, and you can clearly see I've lost my utensil drawer, and it just finishes it off easier that way. Sure hope this works out. Oh boy. Okay, so you can see the difference in heights. A good 2 inches, I think, are from the bottom, which the fridge would look like in there. This is just again the fridge that's broken. Might as well utilize it to make sure that I've got this all happy. as it were. All right, so since the compressor, condenser, what have you, for the fridge is going in behind this wall under the kitchen cabinet, I decided to add a hole while I'm at making a mess. This with a 4-inch hole with this screen, which I already tested to make sure that the door will open and close. Not that I use it, but now that I have a vent on hot days, what have you, should there not be enough ventilation. This is a little early warning that the tail end of this clip, this video, I'm going to use some foul language. I had some wine. I just found out from Bill that E-Trailer wanted now the second fridge to be replaced and shipped back. And I was running out of time. You know, that took, I don't know, 4 or 5 days to get this fridge. The pull-out drawer for the utensils will now be mounted on the bottom under the fridge, just to kind of fill in that space and finish it off so it doesn't look so retrofitted. So it's all coming together. Okay, so this is the finished base. So I've added the sheet of foil, which is supposed to be the best foil sheet you can get, supposedly. 1 inch of styrofoam, and then another inch of styrofoam. And it's staggered just partly because that's what I have, and partly because the area where the fender is, the fender well, is right in here. So beyond that, the trailer underside is well insulated, so I'm not too concerned. But the wheel well is not insulated, but it will be now. Now, it's going to take 2 to install it because you have to feed the compressor and condenser assembly through. So one person will do that while the fridge is being put in place. But that condenser assembly has to go through that opening before this goes in place. Okay, so for me, I have those 2 recirculating pumps. They circulate the hot and cold in pretty much most of the lines, you know, slowly. The idea is that slow moving water won't freeze. So I have those 2 pumps for that. And then the one at the back is for when I want to, you know, winterize and put antifreeze in all the lines, or just the outside shower and kitchen. But they are right on top of the fender well where there's no insulation, so I unscrewed them, you know, did my best to raise them and put the foil underneath to help, you know, I'm in there, I might as well do it. And help keep that area even more cozy. So here it is, the new fridge. It came well packaged enough. The lid was already loose and it was stored on its side rather than, you know, with the arrows up. But anyways, it looks fine at the moment. Everything looks intact. So we'll see. That's a pretty good bend in that pipe. If it wasn't for the eBay fridge issue, I would never have known to peel the rubber back to check that bend. And it does have a kink in it. We sent photos to E-Trailer and they want it back. They want us to return it. The thing about overlanding full time, different shit happens. So my Dometic fridge, which you would think if Dometic made a good cooler, that everyone wanted to pay $1,000 for the smallest one, that they can make a good fridge. And their fridge isn't cheap to rebuy, to replace. So, you know, I'm just a retired auto worker, as I've said before, and I'm on a budget that I have yet to make. So I got a fridge off of eBay. It got shipped. It's new, never been used. Just someone didn't want it because they wanted a different fridge when they bought their boat. And it came damaged. And with the help of a friend, the fridge, I ended up getting a new fridge. Same fridge, but new from e-trailer. Well, it gets here and it has to be sent back. I can't stay here forever. So now I'm going to be fridgeless. That's how I figured this out. But you know, when you live in one place, one location, and you just go out from time to time for a week at a time for maybe a couple, 3 weeks, you return home and you can fix the shit you break or the shit that wears out. You know, Black Series, they had the market right in the beginning, and they so dropped the ball. They got to be the biggest losers on the fucking planet. Shame on them. That's all I got to say. They can go screw themselves. Now I got to head back to Canada without a fridge. I can't keep staying into the U.S. because that fucks when I come back. You only get 180 days. You know, I don't want to come down here just to escape winter, hide out in Uma with all the other fucking deadbeats. Sorry, but, you know, when I haven't been there, but when you see all the videos of it and, hey, I'm going to Uma, it looks like it's just people that go there that are, you know, maybe I should go, that are broke ass. You know, they're all, you know, like, what's so great about Uma? Anyways, nothing other than it's warm. I just want to explore. I just want to see more, do more. I don't want to sit on my ass outside my trailer. Go to part 2 of the fridge saga. Big hats off to e-trailer. They stepped up. Solid company. Highly recommend. Thank you. Part 2. See it.